It's a Monday on the early line. It's time to get down to business here. SportsGrid Network, bright and sunny. And yes, a new month, a new week. So yes, some new money on the horizon. We have a lot to talk about, which includes the Stanley Cup Final, the NBA Final, a lot to get through, and an exciting weekend overall. French Open action, anybody? Absolutely. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri. You know the drill. Over the next 2 hours, the hot topics, they're going to keep flying at you, people. We got everything you need to start your work week in style, Joe. How about that?
Yeah, listen, Donnie, coming off a week, I think, in which we might have had another profitable week here on the show.
Yeah.
4-0, and we're just going to keep it right. I think we've lost one game in 2 weeks here, so we got a lot rolling into this week. And you mentioned it. It's going to be all about the finals in both the NHL and the NBA.
Thank goodness, salvaged a win on Friday night for me with a team total on the Atlanta Braves. So it was fantastic. Let's do it again this week. But before we get there, you might need a huge cup of coffee filled up, caffeinated to the max, because the hottest topic of the day is going to be delivered to you fresh right now. Joe, what is it?
Well, Donnie, I guess we should talk about those NBA Finals coming up this week. Ooh. And there appears to be just a ridiculously pathetic and lazy narrative that the media continues to shove down our throat ever since Wemby and the Spurs took down the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. And that narrative appears to be that, well, the New York Knicks don't stand a chance. It's amazing to me how the talking heads have already handed this trophy, the Larry O'Brien trophy, to Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I get that the league is so desperate to crown their next golden child and face of the league that they're treating this series like a formality. And the big argument against the New York Knicks is, well, how they got to the finals. Because apparently they're claiming that because the Knicks pretty much swept their way through the East, they didn't play anybody good along the way, Donnie. And, well, because the Spurs had to go to distance in a brutal 7-game war against the defending champion Thunder, well, I guess that means San Antonio is on an entirely different level. Yeah, except it doesn't work that way. Because titles in the NBA are not about who you beat before you got there. Nobody will remember who you beat when you got to the finals. Playoffs are about matchups. They're about execution, health. Oh, yeah, and more importantly, coaching. And that's it. That's the only thing that matters at this point. And the reality is the Knicks are having one of the most dominant, historic postseason runs any of us have seen in a very, very long time. They have not lost a game in a month. They are putting foot to ass unlike anything the league has seen in a very, very long time. And it has zero to do with being lucky that they had to play the Hawks and the Cavs to get there. Forget that narrative. Look at the data. Since the calendar turned to 2026, the Knicks, the Spurs, and the Oklahoma City Thunder have been the best 3 teams in the NBA in just about every major statistical category that matters. They have been one of the best 3 teams, and we're getting 2 of the best 3 teams to play for an NBA championship. The Knicks are real. They're connected. They're playing elite basketball. They're executing at a ridiculous level. And, oh, yeah, they got a pretty good superstar as well. His name is Jalen Brunson. But no one in the media is talking about the challenges that the New York Knicks might just present to the Spurs, including having beaten them 2 out of 3 already this year. Neither team in the West has faced an offense with this type of consistent 3-level shot making and sustained confidence. Not the Spurs. Wouldn't have been OKC either. Now, will the Knicks win the NBA championship? I don't know. That's going to be decided on the court. But what I do know is whoever lifts the trophy at the end of next week, Donnie, it's going to have zero to do with their path to get there. If the Knicks lose, it'll be because they couldn't solve the Wemby problem, not because the New York Knicks didn't deserve to be there.
Absolutely. And also understand this, too. Forget about what we think is the better team, OKC versus San Antonio. San Antonio won, so technically they are. But now you're getting to the biggest stage where maybe OKC's like been there, done that before. Spurs haven't. So maybe it is advantage Knicks, even though they're a heavy underdog moving on into this championship, which will start Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right on ABC. Great stuff as we move forward. Perfect way to start our week. So now we get into the early lineup and those hot topics. Joe, how about UCLA? Baseball, #1 team, haven't lost in regular season since the 14th of April. Suffered 2 defeats in the regional round to St. Mary's. They're not even making it to Omaha, Joe.
Yeah, case in point, Donnie, right? Somebody forgot to tell St. Mary's they weren't supposed to win this game here. I think it's the first time in the history where the #1 team in the country lost their first game and gets bounced, Donnie. It's kind of laughable because they're going to have the #1 draft pick in this year's Major League Baseball draft, those UCLA Bruins, and yet they won't be playing baseball in the postseason anymore.
World Cup, Joe, roughly 2 weeks away. Some friendlies out here being played, which included the U.S. taking on Senegal, and a victory 3-2, which finally, a breakthrough. Pulisic actually scores a goal here. Maybe some good vibes heading into the World Cup here. And by the way, Joe, out over the weekend, bought a Pulisic shirt here. A nice little jersey to get ready for the World Cup. Ooh. I'm ready. I buy his shirt and he scores, Joe. Match made in heaven. Come on now.
I love it, Donnie. Patriotism, right? Show it, man. Let's just hope they make it out of the group, Donnie. Who are we kidding?
Oh, boy. Come on now. Come on. They have to get into that World Cup final to see that catastrophe at MetLife that we all know is on the way. And talking about catastrophes, it wasn't for a long time. Like, man, don't mess with the Canadians. They own hockey. They win at every single level. And now we take a look at the Olympic stage. Can't get it done. World Championship stage, Joe? Well, at least they got to the final, got a silver. They didn't even medal. Norway defeats Canada to claim the bronze 3-2. Whoa, is Canada.
Yeah, not good, Donnie. And in fact, I know a lot of big-time Canadian hockey fans that were betting Norway. They had zero confidence in their boys in Canada to get it done. Congrats to Norway. They got some pretty good hockey players there as well.
Iga Swiatek, she's out at the French Open, along with a lot of superstars here. Looks like we could have some first-time winners coming along.
Who else is left? I mean, both on the men and the women's side, Donnie. It feels like going to be a great opportunity for somebody nobody's ever heard of to actually win a Grand Slam.
Can you see it, Joe, in just a couple days when whoever wins this tournament, they go, even though there's no superstars, the highest-rated French Open in the history of the sport. You know it's coming at this point. PSG, they won the Champions League because they went to a shootout here, and then they rioted. Exactly what you're supposed to do when you win. Watch out, France.
780 people. 780 people were arrested for celebrating that win there. There's, I guess, not a lot else going on there, huh, Donnie?
Yeah, we riot all the time in the U.S., and nobody ever gets arrested or persecuted here. I don't know what's the deal in that is. San Antonio Spurs advanced to the NBA Finals after a Game 7 victory. I got to tell you, I'm shocked by this. Game 6 and Game 7 to the Spurs, they move on to the finals.
Yeah. Donnie, I mean, listen, hats off. It just goes to show you as well how difficult it is to repeat in any sport in these days. It really, really is tough, and OKC learned that the hard way.
I don't want to play the Carolina Hurricanes if I'm hockey, if I'm playing hockey, because you're going to have now Stanley Cup final, Vegas versus Carolina. You can't score on their power play against them here. You can't do much. Their system works. It's 4 lines rolling at you, but I'm expecting a pretty good final here. But I give the edge to Carolina. They're rolling.
Great, Donnie. So should I just burn my Vegas ticket here in the prediction market? So just find a way out? That's why I made it in the prediction market, Donnie. I just need Vegas to win a couple of games, and then I'll get out and we can watch Carolina win.
How can Torts win a Stanley Cup by basically getting inserted in the final week or 2 of the season? Could happen. That's hockey, people. And this is Monday. That's how you get started in style. We'll be back after this short break. Tons of hot topics. They're on the way.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Changing of the seasons pretty much now, right? And by the way, I don't know what happened here up in the spring, Joe. Like the pollen usually crushes me by like May-ish here. I didn't get that. And all of a sudden yesterday, like early May, late April, it's like, okay, April showers bring May flowers. I sneeze all over the place. It's really catching up to me now. So I'm hoping that the weather shifts, we get more heat and the pollen goes away, but also understanding this. We used to talk every single day, Joe, about some spread lines here on the NBA. Every single day about some NHL spread lines here. It starts to change as those games get fewer and fewer once we reach the finals, but still a lot going on in the sports atmosphere, which includes the WNBA. Only 2 games on the docket tonight, Joe. One at 8 o'clock, one at 10 o'clock Eastern. Game number 1, we'll talk about the Seattle Storm taking on the Dallas Wings. The Dallas Wings, 2 straight wins here, has them at 5-3, technically in a tie for third here in the WNBA standings. Things haven't worked out all that well for the Storm, and as you can see the number, Joe, opening line around 10.5. Graphic states 12.5 now in a total of 168.5. What's the spread line today, Joe? Storm, Wings.
Well, the Wings are rolling here, Donnie. Yeah. I mean, Jessica Shepard alone, 22 points, 20 boards, 10 assists. Her second triple-double of the season. Something tells me she's going to have a lot more here for the Dallas Wings, who have a ton of depth. I mean, my goodness here. They got Seattle coming to town. Seattle's had a rough go. They've won some impressive games, but they're sitting at 3-6, Donnie. And it feels like the Dallas Wings, they got the draft picks they want. They are building a pretty winning organization there. They are somebody to keep an eye on because I don't know that the market has exactly adjusted accordingly here for just how good this Dallas Wings team is.
How about a little first place versus last place, Joe? Take a look at the Minnesota Lynx on the road, but they sit atop of the WNBA standings at 6-2 on the season. They're going to face the Phoenix Mercury, who are 2-7 on the season, Joe. Overnight line's kind of mixed here, -1.5, -2.5. But now you see that graphic. The Lynx on the road as a favorite at -3.5 points in a total of 167.5. First versus last, Joe. Lynx and Mercury. What's the spread line here?
Well, 2 teams going in 2 totally different directions, right, yeah. Donnie? I mean, you've got the Minnesota Lynx now who have rattled off. They're 6-2. I think they've rattled 4 straight. And they now have the best record in the WNBA here, and they're going to be heading into this whole Commissioner's Cup thing. And the Mercury, unfortunately, they can't buy a win. I think it's 5 straight now, and the schedule makers didn't do them any favors because the schedule has been absolutely brutal. But Phoenix is a young team. I don't know how Minnesota's doing it. And Nafisa Collier, don't forget, one of the best players in the WNBA is out, and Minnesota doesn't have them, and yet they're still rattling off a ton of wins. They look great, and they look, once again, like the team to beat.
Flip it over to Major League Baseball. Not a full card tonight, but looks like we got 3, 6, 9 total games. First game we'll talk about, which hint, in hour number 2, your boy DRS coming to you strong in this game here. Alcantara versus Cavalli. And you say to yourself, well, I heard Sandy's name, and that should be an easy victory for the Marlins. Not so fast. Look at the line here, Joe. Opened up overnight in that minus 140 range as a favorite to Washington here. Now sitting at 142 to 150, depending on where you're shopping at, in a total of 8.5. The Nats, a heavy favorite in this one. I think that's the right way to look at it as well, Joe. What are we thinking on the spread line for you today?
Well, I mean, they've won, right? I mean, I think 6 in a row. They've won or tied 6 straight series here, the Nats. They are much better, Donnie. And if you ask most people, they're over 500, and most people don't even realize that at 31-29 here, Donnie, on the season. They are one of the best hitting teams in the National League. Lefty, righty, it doesn't matter. They can score runs. Yes, the bullpen is a mess at times, but you know what? They are certainly more than capable of beating the Marlins here in a couple of games, even with Alcantara on the mound. So I'd be looking for runs in this one as well.
Marlins looking decent on the season until they just ran into a 5-game losing streak, coupled with the Mets' 4-game win streak, and they find themselves, now the Marlins, at the bottom of the standings in the NL East. But as Joe points out there, some pretty good matchups in that game, so make sure you stay tuned on that. 7:45 p.m. tonight, Joe. Texas going to take on St. Louis. Tarps off. DeGrom versus McGreevy here. The slight favorite, as you see on the graphic, the Rangers at a minus 124 price in a total across the board, Joe, sitting at 8. Texas, St. Louis. Spread line for you is what tonight?
Yeah, I can't believe the Cubs finally have a day off, Donnie, but not before the Cardinals sent them packing with a win last night on Sunday Night Baseball. And you know the routine, Donnie. Sunday Night Baseball teams playing on Monday. DeGrom on the mound? Yeah, I might be looking towards the Rangers side in this one.
How about the next one we're going to talk about, Joe? Insane. New York Mets, Seattle Seahawks. Two of the teams, not granted, not the Seattle Seahawks as much as the Mets. Underwhelming performances so far on this season, Joe. So now you take a look at a game tonight. Warren's going to face off against Hancock. Minus 130 prices overnight. They're actually a little bit higher now. You look live across the board, Joe. Minus 142, minus 145, even minus 150s as a favorite towards Seattle. And we just talked about the New York Mets, Joe. Winners of 4 games in a row. Still bad on the season, 26-33, but trying to dig out from that grave. And what have we been saying so far, Joe, over the first couple months of the season on the Mariners? When are they going to wake up? When are they going to take control of this division? When are they going to start to play the baseball we expected them to play back in April? Well, take a look now, Joe. 30-29 on the season, in first place, winners of 6 games in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. The Mariners have arrived. The Mets and the Mariners tonight, way out of the West Coast, Joe, 9:40 start. How about a look here with a spread line?
Yeah, so we do. All right, we got a couple of teams actually heading in the right direction finally with a couple of win streaks going on here. And listen, Emerson Hancock, I've taken him a lot, Donnie, this season. He's one of the more improved guys. Seattle, for all their faults, they do great things with pitchers there, and I think he's landed in the right spot. Mets had to play yesterday, you said, and then, of course, hop on a plane, travel to Seattle. I'm all about the Mariners in this one here, Donnie. I think Emerson Hancock gets it done. Still don't trust these Mets.
Yeah, it should be a good matchup tonight. It's a great one. Late night, 9:40. Actually, 3 games there, 9:38, 9:40, 9:40 tonight. And then also you have a couple games squeezed in there from 6:40 starting. 9 total games in Major League Baseball tonight. But as I told you, like I had 2 games I was looking at, Joe. One of them dealt with Colorado and L.A. That seems like a layup, depending on which way you want to go with the team total. But when I look at that Miami Marlins Washington Nationals game, there's some chances here to try to knock around Alcantara and also that losing streak for the Miami Marlins. We'll see if that bleeds in Washington today. We're just getting started. You know the drill. It's how we get down to business. Donnie and Joe in the morning right here, SportsGrid Network.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time? And he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Oh, it's a glorious Monday morning, as it always is, starting the week off in style. Going over some of the information that you might have missed over the weekend, or maybe, Joe, missed over the past couple weeks. Because, look, don't look now. After beating my Philadelphia Phillies hammer style yesterday, and Andrew Painter, I don't want to get into it just yet. They won yet another series. That's 5 in a row. Let's hear from Dave Roberts talking about it.
5 series in a row. Is this the consistency that you expect out of this group now?
Yeah. You're going to get beat at times. It's going to happen, but I do think with the talent that we have, if we, focus and play like we're capable of, we should win series, regardless home, road. So this next one's going to be a good one. Diamondbacks always play us tough, and so play at their place is always difficult. So this is going to be a fun series coming up.
Oh, it's never fun playing the Dodgers, though, because even though they're injured at multiple positions and multiple pitchers, it doesn't matter. They just have one ace after another go, one great player off the bench trying to fill in, and then you find themselves 38-21. Joe, like a week and a half ago, we were talking about the Padres chasing them down, a half game out, half game lead, and now it's already up to 5.5. Just Dodgers being Dodgers.
It's all part, again, very long season, Donnie. It's all about ebbs and flows in Major League Baseball. Certainly when wagering on it, I can tell you that. And, the Dodgers get to go at home. I think the big thing for your Phillies was losing that Wheeler game, that opening game. Had they won that, Donnie, we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, 4-2 on the road trip against the Padres and the Dodgers. You'll absolutely take that, but just when you line up against the Dodgers, they're not even full game. Like, he didn't face Ohtani in that series, and Yamamoto was the next coming of Cy Young yesterday against them. Just what it is, man. They're talented, and once they get to the playoffs, if they're fully healthy, they're probably going to win another World Series. But if the Braves have anything to say about that last year, Joe, terrible start last year, injured all the way through, didn't have a chance to win that Major League Baseball season. This year, first team to 20 wins. First team to 30 wins, first team to 40 wins. It's all been the Atlanta Braves. Good baseball club lurking around here.
Very good baseball club, Donnie. And it's not like they haven't had to deal with some injuries, too, as well, in and out of the lineup there, but they have remained consistent. And this kind of reminds me of the old, Freddie Freeman Atlanta Braves teams there. So very dangerous, Donnie. And again, they still have some guys, some starting pitchers on the shelf there that could help them down the road. But the Braves are sitting pretty right now.
Now, when you get popped for steroids, right, it's like, you know what? I was trying to get that extra edge, but you know what? I'll use some creatine. I'll be back in the fold. Everything's going to be okay. Fernando Tatis, baseball season started in late March, which means you had maybe a week in March. You had all of April and all of May. And finally, at the end of May, Fernando Tatis Jr. hit his first home run. Like, Joe, you run into home runs as a Major League Baseball player, even as terrible hitters. Tatis' first home run comes basically in June. What was the deal with that?
Crazy, Donnie. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, between Machado and Tatis, I'm scratching my head a lot of times here on what is going on. I mean, there's slow starts, and then there's what these guys have gone through here. But yet, somehow, the Padres with that starting rotation and that bullpen, have managed to win enough games to still keep them in contention. But if those two don't start hitting, Donnie, it's going to be a long season.
White Sox fans can't have nice things either, Joe. Why is that? Murakami, the one bright spot on that team, playing decent baseball when everybody probably thought they would just be bottom feeders. Probably going to be rookie of the year. He's down 4 to 6 weeks. Why? It's a hamstring. Remember, Joe? Friday, just a strain. Precautionary will take him out. Yeah, it's basically looking at 6 weeks for Murakami that he's going to miss. Devastating news, but I got to tell you, Joe. Look at the uniform right there. You say, what is that? Like his, KBO uniform? Like, no, that's a Chicago Bulls color scheme for the Chicago White Sox. Hello, Phillies! You should be Kelly Green. I didn't want to get off the topic, Joe, but I just had to let that go.
Kind of like that, where you're going with that. But by the way, the guy's a home run hitter. Like, why is he pulling hamstrings? Like, what are we doing? Like, just he's there to swing the bat and hit the ball over the fence. Like, exactly. Like, let him walk there. You don't have to hustle. Don't hustle. You don't have to run anything out. You just hit home runs and we're good to go here.
Look, anybody, maybe we're just too old. Anybody remember Kirk Gibson? Dude couldn't even walk, bust a home run, barely got around the bases. Just do that, man. If you hit a home run, Joe, you can take your time and do whatever you want around the bases. No need to hustle in the second base. How about the Mets? Move David Peterson to the bullpen and Minaya to the rotation. They're trying everything, but they're on a win streak, Joe.
Oh, please. Neither of those moves are going to help with those two gas cans. I can tell you that, Donnie. They are just waiting to be lit up, whether it's out of the bullpen or starting a game. Can't trust either of them at this point.
Who would have figured this out as we go to commercial break? Craig Kimbrell on the 15-day IL. What did he do? Just roll out of bed? Goodness, man. Hang it up, Craig. Hang it up. Bad news there for him and the Rays. We'll be back. This short break. More hot topics. Yep.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time? And he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
going to flip it over to basketball in just a few moments here, but there was an oddity yesterday that somewhere through the history that we have in Major League Baseball over 100+ years, this is an interesting one, Joe, because we hear it all the time. They scored 4 runs in the 3rd inning, didn't get a hit after that. They hit a solo home run in the 1st, no hits and no runs after that. We've seen that before, Joe. I don't know if we saw this yesterday, and for me, saying, I think the Yankees are going to tee off against the Athletics, and the first 4 guys are going to have a pretty good game, I should say. Goldschmidt, Rice, Judge, and Bellinger, everybody had at least a hit and at least 1 RBI in that game. Joe, how about the statistic here? The New York Yankees had no runs and no hits today against the Athletics, except for 13 runs and 11 hits in the 3rd inning. What? I can't even believe that's even a thing. It's real.
Donnie, the game was it was unbelievable, that inning. And if you were watching it, and I had it on, and I kept coming back in the room, but I didn't have any sound on, but I thought they were in the 6th inning. I'm like, the Yankees just keep, every time I turn around, the Yankees are up here. I'm like, boy, the A's must be terrible. Meanwhile, the A's were up 3-0 heading into that 3rd inning, Donnie. It looked like another Yankees loss, and then all of a sudden, 13 runs and not 1 home run, Donnie, in that 13-run inning. Whenever you hear that something has been done in Major League Baseball that's never been done before, it's pretty unique, Donnie, because they've been playing that game and recording those types of things for a very, very long time. But the Yankees managed to do something we have never seen before.
Did you watch Saturday night, people? A Game 7 in the NBA Western Conference Finals. The San Antonio Spurs and the OKC Thunder. And OKC had a 3-2 series lead. Had a chance to close it out in San Antonio. They didn't even come to play in that game. San Antonio walloped them. She said, okay, Game 7, major advantage to Oklahoma City at home. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if you'd have told me before the game, Joe, look at that stat line. 35 points here and 9 assists. Oh, that's an easy victory. They're moving on to the finals. Not so fast. It was San Antonio, 111-103, Joe. And I got to tell you, this is a team that's arriving ahead of schedule and putting away the defending champions in their own building in game number 7. This team means business. That was impressive.
It really was. But, I mean, listen, SGA, you got to give him credit. He did everything he possibly could. He just had zero help, Donnie. I mean, where is Chet Holmgren on the back of a milk carton?
Oh, my goodness.
Like, where is he? I mean, the guy took 2 shots in a Game 7 at home. 2 shots. I will say this, had they had Jay Will and had they had A.J. Mitchell, had they had a couple of other guys that could create their own shots, we might be having a different conversation, but that's not how the game is played. You go out there, you took them to 7, you couldn't win. And give credit for the adjustments that Mitch and the San Antonio Spurs made throughout that series, because they basically said, all right, SGA, you can score 35. The rest of this ragtag crew, they're not scoring at all. And that's exactly how they won Game 7.
And you need breaks to win a championship in every sport. As Joe points out, if Oklahoma City was completely healthy, they probably win the series, but they weren't. And San Antonio took advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Same thing for the Knicks. Running through the Eastern Conference, they're rested and ready, taking on a team that's not really as been there, done that before as OKC. They're going to play the Spurs, and we'll see if that advantage holds up for those Knicks. Let's go to the post-game press conferences. First, we're going to hear from Victor Wembanyama.
Like I want that. I want to win so bad. It's like my life depends on it.
Now, let me ask you a quick question here. Like the passion from Victor Wembanyama, crying and this and that. Like I like to see athletes in big moments, let their guard down at times. Does this mean, oh my goodness, finally we got over the hump, which again, finally means this is a young basketball team, but the Spurs used to their winning ways, let's just say a decade ago under Pop. Is this too much too soon for them? Like, are they showing too much emotion before the finals as if this was their finals, Joe?
Well, Donnie, that's the fear, right? If you're backing the Spurs, if you're holding a ticket for the Spurs, the last thing you want to see is him up there crying. But he's 22 years old, and it's I get it, but man, no, Wemby, no. Like, show up at the press conferences. If it's one thing or the other with him, right, Don? It's like we can't get him to show up to the press conference, or he shows up and then he's crying, and it's like, no, absolutely not. Don't do it. But at 22 years old, you gotta learn a little something here, and I think he'll learn as he goes along.
It's almost one of those, like, maybe it's just cultural differences, if that's what it is, and nobody's blaming the guy for it. You like to see emotion, but usually that emotion comes after a championship, because what we're used to is here. Wemby, how did that feel? We didn't even do anything yet. Like, we won the championship is the goal. We haven't done that. My mind is focused on the Knicks already right now. Like, ooh, he's locked in. But it is nice to see the emotion. But is that emotion mean like, man, we're in the finals? This is so great, as if you already won in the finals? Let's continue to hear from Wemby in that post-game presser here.
But what do you think this means for Pop, and how important is it for you to have these moments for him?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what it means for him. That's a guy who's got more experience as a coach than almost anybody, and has been through so many things in his career and so many things right now as El Jefe. He goes through some things we can't even imagine. So I need to call him. I need to see him. I need to talk to him. Because there's no way I can understand right now, how he feels.
I'm all out of tears, Joe. I can't cry anymore at this point. Come on.
Like, somebody give the guy a baguette, will you? Just, like, stop it. Stop with the tears already, man. Like, come on. And Pop, didn't Pop, like, rip this team after they lost, what was it, the second game, I think, at home? Like, he actually got down there and absolutely tore this team up. So, hey, listen, it's a great story. He is going to be the future of the NBA.
Yeah.
But a little less crying here would be fantastic.
Look, turn it over. See what you can do. Why? Because Wednesday night, June the 3rd, NBA Finals, game number 1 from San Antonio, Joe, which has a 4.5 to 5.5 point favorite, depending where you're shopping at. And let me just check some of these movements here, because we did have 5.5, Joe, in that marketplace to probably right around late last night with that market movement down to 4.5. Joe, were people watching those press conferences from Wembanyama with them crying and hammering the New York Knicks in game number 1? Is that what's going on?
That's, again, Donnie, you would already think, though, like, by that press con, did they just win the finals? Like, he's got the Larry O'Brien chart. Like, everyone was already the market is certainly already saying that the Knicks have no shot here with the way this thing is priced. So, yeah, let them keep celebrating. We'll see how long that lasts.
Draymond throwing shots left and right. Here's a quote from Draymond Green doubling down, Joe. Getting out of the East has never been a surefire thing to winning a championship. What y'all talking about? You're supposed to get out of the East. It's the blanking East, Joe.
Yeah, again, it's like, it cracks me up. Yeah, okay, so just the West. So don't even bother showing up anybody from the East. I mean, this is not the Indiana Pacers. I hope everyone understands that. And even the Pacers took them to 7 games.
Yeah.
So I would, I would, everybody needs to slow down. It'll be decided on the court, but all of this talk ahead of time, like the West is just going to steamroll the East. Well, we'll see how that works out.
And by the way, there's going to be a recession in New York City, Joe. You had to buy tickets in Atlanta. You had to buy tickets in Philadelphia. Then you bought tickets in Cleveland, and now you're going to have to buy tickets in San Antonio if you're a Knicks fan, and buy those plane tickets here. How much is enough? Well, the get-in prices, Joe, like this, like, oh, it's courtside $2,000. Okay. No, get-in prices for the Spurs, over $2,000. For the Knicks, $4,000. In some instances, Joe, $5,000 just to get into the building, Joe. Just to get in and stand there.
Yeah, I think it's $500 just to stand outside of Madison Square Garden, Donnie.
True.
I think that's what they're also getting $500 out there. So, yeah, no, it's not for the – and, again, the stadium will be packed with a lot of guys that have never seen a Knicks game all year.
Go, New York, go, New York, go. Different tax brackets going to show up. And also, the president going to show up in New York. Ooh, hot topics. You know it.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time? And he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Starting your month with us right here in June, starting your week with us right here on a Monday. That's the way you get down to business. It's Donnie right side of Joe Ranieri. Now welcome in our guy, Tom Vecchio. A lot going in the sports landscape here. Tom, how we feeling? Refreshed and ready? Ready to go? Yeah. We got a lot to talk about, which includes sometimes we hear, Tom, about, okay, how hard is it to win a Stanley Cup? To go through all those series, usually 5, 6, 7 games here, and eventually you get to lift that Stanley Cup if you're lucky enough, and good luck if you get even lifted once you get there. We hear so many times, and again, with my Philadelphia Flyers, hey, you know what? Litany of people getting surgeries left and right. This guy had a broken leg. This guy had broken ribs. This guy was bleeding internally. But how about Max Domi here? Toronto Maple Leafs. Surgery, unable to walk, threatening the rest of his career. Unbelievable stuff. Have you heard anything, Tom, on this whole Max Domi case here?
Yeah, very weird story. He had off-season surgery for the Leafs. They didn't make the playoffs, but going forward, saying that he wasn't able to walk after the surgery is somewhat concerning. But going forward, this should have been somewhat of a reset summer for the Leafs to build positive momentum going forward. Now, it's fair to say that Max Domi isn't one of their top-end talents like Austin Matthews or William Nylander, but he is an important part of that team from just their depth and really who they are as an identity. And getting the first overall pick, it should have been a season to build and go into the season with positive momentum, and this kind of stifles that a little bit. Obviously, we hope that he gets better, but it's still up in the air as to what actually went wrong.
Well, we do get to finally, we're that much closer, right, to crowning a Stanley Cup champion here. And Vegas, been there, done that. Carolina finally getting there. It's been I think Brindamore was on the team last time they were there back in 2006. So both two great stories. Again, no Colorado. Sorry. So I don't know. Is the East better than the West, like the NBA, or the NBA seems to think the West is better than the East? So what is it? Who wins this one?
I think the series is a lot closer than people are anticipating. I see that the Canes are the favorite, and they should be the favorite. They have home ice. They are, we could say a better team, quote unquote. But I'm playing Vegas at +1.5 on the series spread. It's -150, so it's a little bit of juice. It's -150 on DK. It was -174 on FanDuel, so just just from a perspective of that market across the industry, there's a big discrepancy. So I'm playing Vegas plus 1.5 games on the series. Again, minus 150. I think they're a good team. Now, Carolina is also very, very good. We have to understand that. Like, they were very close for the past few years. They ran into this mini dynasty of the Panthers and weren't able to get across the finish line. But Vegas is going to be in the series. It's not going to be a short series. I think they keep it close the whole way.
Should be a good one. Starts tomorrow night, 8 p.m. from down there in Carolina. Favorite there, minus 152 price on the Carolina Hurricanes, and a total of 5.5, Tom. But I want to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball with you, because whenever I talk Western baseball, which means the American League West, there's one team that Tom's always been keen on here throughout the offseason. And every show I've done week to week on Major League Baseball here on the network, it's like, when are we finally, Tom, going to see the Mariners play good baseball? Will you finally wake up? 31-29 on the season. Winners of 6 games in a row, 8-2 in their last 10. And actually taking on tonight, Tom, a very hot Mets team. Have your Mariners arrived in 2026?
I would like to say so. And, certainly some, I don't want to say growing pains, but I want to say somewhat of a hangover from last year, where they were so close to making it, to the championship. They didn't get there. This season, we started off with Cal Raleigh being, just call it what it was. He's been abysmal. They're giving contracts to young AAA players, then they're finally calling them up. So there's like a lot going on. There's issue with the pitching staff that they're having Castillo, piggyback off of, the bullpen. So there's a lot going on. I think they finally have found their stride. And this is a spot that I think we want to lean into, where they're going to win like 11 out of their next 15 games. They're going to be slight favorites in some of these games. They're going to be heavier favorites when Wu or Gilbert are on the mound. They're better than the Mets, and minus 130 or minus 140, I think, is a pretty fair line for them.
Yeah.
Did you see the Yankees score 13 runs in an inning and then not get a hit and a run in the rest of it there, which is pretty funny here when you're setting records of things we have never seen. But I mean, what is your view of the Yankees now moving forward? I mean, they are still a game and a half out of Tampa? We all think Tampa coming back to reality at some point.
Tampa's kind of stumbled in the last few games. They dropped, I think it was 2 to the Angels. They struggled with the Orioles as well. For the Yankees, to me, they always seem like they're good. They're on the precipice of being great. It still seems like they're one piece away. There are certainly some holes in their lineup. The pitching staff, I think, is good. Getting Rodon back is fantastic, but he still hasn't looked super sharp. Cole has looked great. He had the start against Kansas City last week with the 10 strikeouts. He looks fantastic. It still seems like they're one real impact piece away from being a true bona fide, like, this is the best team in the AL kind of piece.
Tom, we love the NFL, and even though we're in that quiet period right now, there are a couple dates that always stick out. When's free agency going to start? When is the draft? When's the first game of the season? But also, post-June 1st designated cuts, which means my Philadelphia Eagles and those New England Patriots been dancing with each other for the past 5 to 6 months. Most people feel like a deal is already done here at this point. So I'm going to ask you, Tom, today is June 1st. Eligible to make some of those moves. Do we see today or by tomorrow A.J. Brown to the Patriots, or does A.J. Brown get shipped somewhere else?
I think he'll get shipped to the Patriots, and I would say midweek. Like they just got to rip the Band-Aid off. Like, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. Waiting until June 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, it doesn't matter at a certain point. Rip the Band-Aid off, get it done so that both teams can go into OTAs and training camp with clean, no distraction storylines and get set for the season. The Pats, everyone's expecting them to take a little bit of a half step back just because the schedule that they had last year was immensely easy. The offseason distractions that they've had in their own right, but they need to get things going on, in terms of positive momentum for their own team for this season.
Yeah, there's no way. It has to be the Patriots, because when I look at what the NFL, they don't really like this strategy of, you really can't trade him and you sit on it for a couple months and it blows up, and then it turns out there's lawsuits behind the scenes of agreed upon deal that's never should be allowed to be agreed upon. I think it happens tomorrow. Like, they cross the T's, dot the I's today. It happens tomorrow. And also other big news out there in the marketplace, which as we had to break, Odell Beckham Jr., could he be back with the Giants? It's crazy, but I know he's going to be back with us shortly. That's Tom Vecchio. Thanks for joining us today on a Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bring in the heat as always. Joe and Donnie will be back after this quick break.
there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
NFL news and notes. Usually, as we talk with Tom Vecchio here, Joe, quiet time, right? June, most people getting away for their final vacations in the NFL before that ramp up starts in July, where then it's no longer OTAs or mandatory rookie camps, non-mandatory. You're going to show up and you're going to show out here because you'd be less than a month and a half away from the start of the NFL season. And we just talked a little bit about A.J. Brown. When's he going to get moved to the Patriots? But also other things happening, Joe, across the league in front offices. Tom Pelissero tweets out the Vikings agreed to terms with the Seattle Seahawks assistant GM Nolan Teasley as their general manager, sources tell the NFL Network. Fresh off a Super Bowl win, Teasley, regarded as one of the NFL's top young executives, will now try to bring a Lombardi to the Minnesota Vikings here. Guys shifting teams, setting it up post-draft, post-OTAs, and now ready to go. Vikings make a move.
Well, yeah, I mean, they out with the old, in with the new, right? You know, still trying to figure out the draft situation there with Minnesota. But I got to tell you, winning a Super Bowl, Donnie, does a lot of things for a lot of people in an organization, and it usually starts with young guys in the front office now getting their first opportunity. Such a copycat league. You got to love it.
The Bosa brothers known to get after quarterbacks here when they're not injured, which includes 49er star Nick Bosa. He reveals his target date from a torn ACL to come back. Quote, I'm pretty far along. He thinks, Joe, he's back by training camp.
I hope so. I mean, if I'm the 49ers, I need all of those guys back healthy and ready to go to make another run at this. So, yes, they need Bosa back, and it's amazing to me, Donnie, how far it has come with these types of injuries, because usually we'd be like, yeah, see you in a year and a half, like you see you in 2 seasons. But now it's a totally different ballgame.
Joe, we're just running around in shorts and T-shirts right now at most of these OTAs, but how about this? Adam Schefter tweet, 3 Giants have now torn their Achilles during spring workouts here. Wide receiver, punt returner there, Gunnar Olszewski, defensive line, Roy Robertson-Harris, and quarterback Thaddeus Dixon here. The latest was Olszewski, who was carted off the practice field after tearing his Achilles just a few days ago. Now, do we have a power, substation around MetLife? What's going on up there at the Giants workout facility?
That's a shame. 3 practice squad guys, go down. Nobody's ever heard of any of those guys. So as long as it ain't Jackson Dart or anybody else along those lines, the Giants will be just fine.
Although, Joe, could that happen where now Odell Beckham Jr. comes in, who hasn't been relevant since the Super Bowl, which was played in Los Angeles like 4 or 5 years ago between the Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams? That's just what they need to save the day here. How about another Adam Schefter tweet? Pittsburgh Steelers and senior special teams coach Darius Swinton have parted ways due to a violation of club policy per league sources. I wonder what that club policy he violated was, Joe. Do you know?
I have no idea here what that possibly could be, but maybe it's because you weren't all that good at your job to begin with anyway. What do you think?
Was it? But now, see, I don't know how long it was with the organization. Did Mike Tomlin cover up a lot of those discrepancies over the years, and Tomlin's no longer there, so now they have to rule on different challenges here? Is that what's going on?
Well, he was just hired, I believe. McCarthy hired him. If I'm not mistaken, he was hired by McCarthy in February, and then oops, maybe not a good fit, and you got to go. Now, he's been around the league forever, so but interesting that it didn't take long for him to get let go. That'll come out at some point.
How about this one? You ready for this story, Joe? Just a little additive here. The Chiefs are moving forward. We'll have to get Rice caught up to speed. You know who said that? That was Andy Reid. So let me just read you the first paragraph of the article, Joe, which is up on ESPN. The lone notable Kansas City Chiefs starter who missed OTAs this week was Rashee Rice, the Chiefs' #1 receiver who has been jailed in Dallas since last week.
Great. I mean, really, role model kind of stuff there. His kid just don't get it. I'm telling you, Donnie, you can't fix stupid. You just can't fix stupid. And that's exactly what he is.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Like, okay, he's in jail. Like, this is probably where you're fine-tuning your skill set and your body heading into training camp. He's in jail. Is he just doing push-ups and sit-ups? Or are they letting him, like, out on the yard where he gets to run routes? And is there somebody in there that played high school football that was a good quarterback that could throw him passes to get him ready? Or he's just hanging out with ramen noodles and watching TV? What's he doing in there?
Well, listen, hopefully they threw him in isolation so he can grow up. That would be fantastic, too. Yeah, like, this is not a place you want. You could be out of camp, and you decided to smoke weed and be in a jail cell.
Is Andy Reid sending him commissary money? Like, what's going on here? Is that a violation of the salary cap? Whoa! 2 hours coming up there.
Yep.
Hey there, it's your buddy Craig Carton. If you're trying to find out how to get all the great content that me and Tyrone Johnson give you every single day, here's Tyrone to tell you how.
You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and of course, Amazon Music as well. We're at all 4.
That's right. It's the Craig Carton Show podcast every weekday morning live at 11, replayed at noon on YouTube and on SportsGrid throughout the country. Check it out.
They're trading right now currently at 74 wins on the season, which means the Kalshi marketplace goes by 5-win intervals. 75-plus wins for those Houston Astros. That's a 49% contract to the yes, which a $100 investment pays back $205, Greg. I'm not high on this team. Look, again, 75 wins for the Astros is terrible, but this team might not even look the same as where we stand today by the time we get to that deadline.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time? And he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Hour number 2 right here on a Monday, starting your week off the way it's supposed to be. All the information you need to make yourself smarter around that water cooler and to get your month started in the right direction. Donnie writes out along with Joe Ranieri, and it's our job in hour number 2 to do that for you. We're going to have Kevin Walsh as a guest coming up next, host of In Game Live, as we get closer and closer to football season. But more importantly, the World Cup is on deck as well. Also, a little PME midway through the show. Get you the advantages by taking some of those contracts out. That can certainly turn profitable. More importantly, getting started our work week with best bets here in Buy, also coming up in a few segments. So a lot to get to. 1 hour to go. Joe, let's get to the business.
It's going to be a big week here with everything we got coming up with the finals, both NHL, NBA, baseball in full swing. Some teams finally starting to turn it around. So a lot to be excited about here. Not to mention, Donnie, I mean, June, right? June, Father's Day is coming up. You got the US Open. You got a lot going on here this month.
By the way, Joe, if you've been paying attention, because a lot of stadium, things are happening. Like, we know Nashville's going to get a new stadium. It's almost built. It's going to be ready by next year. The Buffalo Bills, they're going to open up their new stadium. Hundreds of millions of dollars of public funds go into that. But you know what we've been focusing, Joe, right now on? Those Chicago Bears. And we didn't bring up this topic in hour number 1, but I just know we have an extra couple seconds here. Did you know yesterday they had a legislative meeting, which they had months to get ready for? They weren't able to get enough votes to come to a pass here, which means it looks like the Chicago Bears are leaving the city of Chicago, and there's 2 spots left, Arlington Heights or Hammond, Indiana. The Bears don't want to go to Indiana unless they're forced to because the deal is so good, they just can't turn it down. But I find it so funny. Like, you have months, and losing the Bears is a little bit of an embarrassment here, and it looks like they're probably going to Arlington Heights. But let me ask you this question. I still think there's 3 places on the table, Joe. Hammond, Indiana, which moving another state away. Chicago, I do think, still going to be on the table, even though they didn't come to a vote. And then Arlington Heights. What do you think are the opportunities here? Because I don't ever think they're going to Indiana unless they explode. But we know, Joe, in Chicago, backdoor deals where the public is about to get fleeced and you're going to have people greasing the skids for the politicians. What's the chances they actually move from Chicago, don't go to Arlington Heights, and end up in Indiana for you?
It's very possible. But we expected this, though, did we not? This back and forth, Donnie. So this is all about, I mean, at some particular point, somebody's going to cave last minute, and there it is, and you'll be good to go. But you're talking, what, $5 billion? Is that what they're estimating the cost of this is going to be, this new stadium? Trust me, with $5 billion up for stakes, somebody is going to cave at some particular point, and it's likely going to be on the Illinois side.
Just unbelievable. It really is. What it's going to come down to, it's like, okay, we're supposed to get these taxes and you can't, and especially in a progressive city like Chicago. It's one thing to say, Joe, all the major businesses that do business here, they're getting taxed. And then those businesses go, do you know we employ like 5,000 people here? And you're telling me the Bears are supposed to pay $50 million in real estate tax and now it's down to $3 million? Oh, yeah? We want the same type of tax advantages. That's messy in Chicago. I don't think they're leaving Chicago. As I said, somebody's going to grease the skids to keep them there, but just something to keep an eye on here. But let's get to some of those hot topics, Joe, on the early lineup, which includes UCLA. One of the best baseball seasons we've seen in years, specifically from UCLA. They don't even make it to Omaha. St. Mary's. We used to think the WCC out on the West Coast taking on Gonzaga in basketball. No, St. Mary's was the kryptonite to UCLA. They're out.
Hilarious, Toddy. I mean, the first time we've ever seen the number 1 team in the country play its first game and get bounced by St. Mary's of all things. And they're a team that are going to have the number 1 draft pick in this year's Major League Baseball draft. They got the best player in the country. And, okay, thanks for coming. No, somebody forgot to tell St. Mary's, Donnie, that they weren't supposed to win that game.
No, absolutely not. And by the way, somebody forgot to tell Christian Pulisic that it's okay to score when you're playing overseas as a striker or a forward. He comes home, U.S. Hey, good to be home. Senegal they take on in a friendly, Joe. They win that friendly, and Pulisic scores a goal. How about that?
Yeah, you got to love it, Donnie. And just that means more jersey sales. That just means getting you a little bit more excited for everything that is coming up. So should be a good time here, Donnie.
Norway beats Canada here. And how about Noah Steen? Game-winning goal. Let's hear from Noah.
Oh, I can't describe it because I don't know. Like, it just happened, and to be honest, I don't know. It's hard to describe right now. I'm just so happy for everybody, and I'm so happy for Norwegian hockey that we can do this and hopefully keep on building something. We got some really, really good going on. So yeah.
By the way, how about that? Something good going on. They're not Canada now. And by the way, how many sponsors they have for this World Championship, Joe? My goodness.
Yeah, did you see that behind it? Like
Skoda?
everywhere on the jar, like behind, like wow. But listen, Norway's got some. They got some some hockey players from Norway too. So yeah, they can play. It's not just Canadian hockey players. There's hockey players all around the world, and Norway just showed you.
Did you ever buy a Skoda, Joe? Like a nice little Skoda car? Looks like they've been around for 130 years. Skoda, Joe. Might be the new revolution. I don't think I've ever seen a Skoda driving around the U.S., huh?
No, I don't. I don't know anybody who drives one.
Yeah.
But listen, anything is possible here, Donnie. Anything is possible coming soon. I mean, you drive a Prius, why not drive a Skoda?
That's true. Like a little Tempo, maybe a Ford Taurus back in the day. Like, you could make miracles to happen. Maybe Iga Swiatek can ride a Skoda back home. Why? She's out in straight sets of the French Open. Oh, boy.
Yeah, there is going to be likely winners that on both the men's and women's side nobody's ever heard of, Donnie. But that's all right. You know, it's good to mix in some new blood. The question is, where is it? Where can we find some? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Maybe there's some pretty big odds coming up here with a unknown that can actually win a Grand Slam title.
PSG was popping. They win the Champions League. They're from France, and boy, did France have a celebration in Paris. No doubt about it. 780 plus arrests, man. When you do big things, you expect a big party, and I guess you expect a lot of arrests to go along with it.
Almost 800 people, Donnie, got arrested. 800 celebrating a PSG win, which, as far as I knew, they were always supposed to win. So I don't... Very strange. Feels like they were looking for a reason to cause some issues.
Me and the family were out eating pizza, Joe, on Saturday while this was going down. We caught the tail end of the extras, but then we watched the shootout there. And I kept telling my daughter, like, shootouts are supposed to be easy for the player. They're professionals. But when you get that much pressure in that moment, it's no surprise that you sail one over the crossbar at that point and certainly don't put on a good effort here. It just happens when PSG wins it there. San Antonio Spurs, they won in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. They are going to take on the New York Knicks starting Wednesday night in San Antonio for all the marbles.
Well, listen, it's two of the best teams in the NBA ever since the calendar turned to 2026. So I think it's gonna be a heavyweight fight, Donnie. I am looking forward to seeing it. Just no more tears from Wemby, please. No more.
How about this? Finals are set up in the Stanley Cup as well. How about Rod Brindamore, known as Rod the Bod in Philadelphia? Let's hear from him on touching the trophy.
Rod, a couple things. One, did you have any input on the not touching the Prince of Wales trophy?
Not really. Oh. Not really. I had a few guys ask me what I thought, and I said, do what you want, but don't touch it.
We've seen this handled different ways, Joe, in these Eastern and Western Conference Finals, where it used to be the old school guard was, Joe, don't ever touch that. But we've seen them touch those trophies before.
Yeah, and there's a reason why, Donnie. A lot of guys want nothing to do with touching that trophy. So, superstition, live and well.
Same thing, hey, I went to see the Stanley Cup where I touched it here if you haven't won it. You can't do that here. When you win it, you can touch it all you want. Heck, you can eat cereal out of that, or many worse things have happened out of that Stanley Cup over the past years here. We'll be back with Kevin Walsh, in-game live style. Yeah. Oh, come on now. It's the month of June. You know what happens in June? World Cup live on U.S. soil here. You know what else happens here? It's June 1st, post-June 1st cuts, and also post-June 1st trades, which I'm sure we're going to get into in a few moments. It's Donnie Writes That Show, and here we're welcoming Kevin Walsh, host of In Game Live, I guess pretty soon World Cup edition, NBA Finals edition, NHL Finals edition. How about that, Kev?
We're excited to be here, DRS. We've got a lot going on. As you said, clock is ticking.
No, clock is ticking in many. Look, battery's running out over here at this point. But how about this, Kevin? New York Knicks, San Antonio Spurs. Whoa! Where's OKC? What actually happened? We saw game number 6. OKC went down like, we'll see what happened. Yeah, you saw what happened. They got smoked in that game. Don't worry. We don't lose game 7s in our own building. SGA is going to have a big night. He's going to go for 35+, and everything's going to be okay. He went for 35 in that game. They lost. Spurs moving on. Spurs, Knicks, Kevin.
It's incredible, DRS. And I got to imagine someone like you who has kicked and screamed for things to matter. Donnie Rightside, welcome to the NBA Cup supporters group. It's great to have you because this is a rematch of the NBA Cup final. So what a delightful matchup we have here between the Knicks and the Spurs, and what a delightful Game 7 it was. Shea hit some incredible shots. He set up a bunch of others that guys just could not hit. The Chet Holmgren offensive performance was tough to watch as somebody who has supported and defended Chet throughout this postseason run. And everyone else on the Spurs stepped up, but the key for San Antonio being the defensive side of the game held true in all 4 of their wins, right? The 103 that they gave up in Game 7 is the most they allowed in regulation in one of the 4 victories that they had. Just incredible, incredible stuff. Sets the stage for an incredible finals.
What did you like? I believe we had talked about it on Friday. Total 212.5, I believe, which would have landed under had not Vassalaire, I believe, with that 2-3 seconds on the clock, that final dunk, which put it to the over. What'd you think of that one there, Kev?
I'll tell you exactly what I thought. I had De'Aaron Fox for 20+ points, rebounds, assists, needing to close out a parlay. And that was his 5th assist and 20th overall PRA. And what's incredible is how every play can impact a bet. Because I was so selfishly concerned with my Fox wager, I forgot the total completely until someone had tweeted at me like, "You're worried about forget Fox. The whole game just went over the number. It wasn't even like it was pushing or anything. Like it completely flipped that result. The thing is, OKC didn't get mad at the dunk because I think they were right that Vassell should have dunked it. Like, it was such a hard-fought series, and the fact that the Thunder didn't get back to contest it or anything and that their possession was so bad, Vassell deserved to completely throw that thing down, so I thought that was fantastic.
Reminiscent of the 1983 NBA Finals where Mo Cheeks dunked it at the buzzer and nobody cared. They left the court and the Sixers. By the way, I got to ask you, Kevin, because the Knicks haven't won in a really long time. And we get that. Like, generations have gone by. When I see Philadelphia 76ers championship highlights with Dr. J, it feels like I'm in a time warp. Like, that didn't happen. Like, that's got to be AI. And, like, it's been so long at this point. So let me ask you this question moving forward. Do you think the Spurs are a better matchup for the Knicks? Because Joe and I talked about like some certain differences where OKC's been there, done that, they want it. The Spurs are now at this point. And also, like Wemby crying and emotional. I'm not saying it doesn't mean he's not going to be ready for the finals, but it looks like getting over the hump to the finals was a big deal when the Knicks are lying in wait. Who do you think would have been a better matchup? And maybe the Spurs are a better matchup for the Knicks.
I think the Spurs are, Donnie. First of all, if Oklahoma City would have advanced, they would have done so without J-Dub, without A.J. Mitchell. They maybe get back 1 or 2 of those guys. I think the Thunder also, so this was an old belief of mine when the second Kevin Durant Warriors title, so they swept Cleveland that year. LeBron was on his own. LeBron had the 51-8-8. J.R. Smith forgot to score in the opening game of the finals. The Rockets pushed that Kevin Durant Warriors team to 7. And the honest belief was that Rockets team was the only one who could beat the Warriors, but a few teams could beat the Rockets. And it feels as if the Spurs were the only team who could beat the Thunder, but a few teams could hang with San Antonio. It's not to be dismissive of the Spurs, but I think the Knicks will be comfortable in this matchup. I think Jalen Brunson is going to be a very tough guard for Stephon Castle, in the same way SGA was, right? I think that Cat bringing Wemby out of the paint is beneficial. Cat can't be getting in foul trouble, though, right? Same is true for Stephon Castle on the other side. I think it's a phenomenal matchup. And people got mad at me for saying this, but I don't really care because I'm right. The Kansas City Chiefs spent all year, 2 years ago, hearing that the Bills were better. They beat them in the AFC Championship game and then celebrated like they had won the Super Bowl. And then the Eagles left them laying on the New Orleans pavement. Because sometimes you pour so much into one result, it's hard to get ready for the next. The San Antonio Spurs were told by many people going into the Western Conference Finals, it was the finals. Everyone knows Wemby hates Chet, thinks he should have won the MVP over Shea, spent all year, talking, junk on this OKC team. I'm not saying he's not going to be ready. I'm not saying he's not going to put his best foot forward in the finals or doesn't want to win the finals. He poured. Think about how much more the Spurs poured into the Western Conference Finals than the Knicks did their entire Eastern Conference run. That is a situational setup that flatly favors the New York Knicks.
All right, so let's get this over. It's June 1st right now, Kevin, which means A.J. Brown, happy if you celebrate it. Post 4 p.m. is actually the deadline. So my question to you is he moved at 4:01, or do we let this simmer overnight?
The whole thing's so stupid, though. Why couldn't he have been traded a week ago? And they're like, yeah, but it'll become official on June 1st. Like, I does get the feeling that Howie's going to drag this out until like June 4th or something like that.
Well, drag it out long enough to watch Kevin on In Game Live tonight. Maybe he reports on AJ tonight. Come up and find out. Donnie and Joe will be back after this quick break. Oh, yeah, right back out of here. A little fun there with Kevin Walsh. Make sure you catch him tonight. In-game live with Gabriel Morency, getting you ready for all the action tonight, whether it's WNBA or even take a look at the Major League Baseball card leading into the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow night, and then Wednesday night, the NBA Finals, Joe. But now's the time we like to reach out to the public and see what they're talking about here. Here comes our Fade the Public poll. Voting out here, Joe, who is your pick to win the NBA Finals MVP? Now, when you take a look at the poll, when it comes back, it's like, all right, who'd you vote for? How'd you do it? Because for some reason, they don't like that. I doubt everybody voted for Jalen Brunson, who's the underdog here, which includes me, who voted for Wembanyama at minus 180, so 0%. Go figure, Joe. I think Twitter is fading the public poll by not letting anybody vote except if you wanted to vote for Brunson. Did I get that right?
That could be, Donnie, but again, we already know that it doesn't allow you to vote on anything. It just doesn't count it. It pretends like you're not there. But I will say this: I think it's a 2-horse race, Donnie, and I obviously it's correlated. So I don't see anybody if the Knicks win. I don't see anybody winning the Finals MVP outside of Brunson, and if it's the Spurs. Nobody. It's going to be Wemby. So I think it's just pick, whoever you think is going to win. That's your MVP right there.
Like, don't mean say, look, okay, maybe Karl Anthony Towns, but like a big going up against Wemby, it's just hard enough to score down there. Maybe it's just Jalen Brunson getting to the free throw line, knocking down triples, getting some assists at this point. But you figure if Brunson has a big series and they win, it's probably going to be Brunson getting the nod at this point. But we're going to find out, and that starts Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m., 6 ABC here in Philadelphia. ABC, whatever your local network is out there. But now, Joe, new week, new month, ready to start in style. Here's our best bets with Bye, Bye, Bye. Where does Joe go? Red hot the past 3 weeks here. It's a Monday. It's a new month, new week, new money, Joe. Where do you head tonight?
I'm going to go where I've got an edge on the mound early, Donnie. And actually, I can't believe it, but the Texas Rangers actually have figured out how to put some runs on the board recently, right? 3-game winning streak now, their longest since the first week in April. It's been a hot minute. They got DeGrom out on the mound, taking on the Cardinals, who, again, just played Sunday Night Baseball. They won that series against the Cubs, but the Cubs are a hot mess and can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. I'll take DeGrom at this price in the first 5, Donnie. I trust DeGrom. He's had a couple of bumpy starts here over the last few, but I think he'll be fine against the St. Louis lineup that doesn't scare me in the least bit here. At a minus 140 price, I'll back the Rangers to have the lead in the first 5.
A DeGrom bomb to start us out. Love to see at this point, Joe. I am also going to go in Major League Baseball. Friday night was nice for me. The Atlanta Braves easily hit their team total over 4.5, and I'm going to keep it in the NL East. But today, Joe, as I hinted here in hour number 1, I'm going with the Washington Nationals team total over 4.5 at a plus money number of plus 108. Most people will look at the starting pitcher and be like, I really don't know if I want to fade Sandy Alcantara. I am, Joe. And here's the mainstay why. Current Major League Baseball season, he's faced 323 batters on the season, but my focus is going to be on what he's done as a right-handed pitcher against left-handed batters, Joe. It hasn't been good. Strikeout percentage for Alcantara there, 14.8%. How about an ISO power number against 204, which is elevated? How about a weighted on base percentage there of 360, which is really elevated? But then you say, well, how do we do with the Washington Nationals? How many lefties can they post in the lineup today? Well, I don't know the official lineup just yet, but we can go in an estimation. And, Joe, I have 6 out of the 9 batters batting from the left-hand side today. Wood, Garcia, Abrams, Lyle, as well as Ruiz, and also Nunez. And also in the middle of that lineup, Wood, a 440 weighted on base percentage this season against right-handed pitching. Curtis Mead, 413. CJ Abrams, 433. And also a lot of guys in this lineup that I just talked about with Alcantara struggling to strike out lefties at only about 15%. Low K rates in that lineup against right-handed pitching for the Washington Nationals. So it's a public fade for me, Joe, of Alcantara, but the numbers also make sense as well. Give me the Nats to get 5 runs or more tonight and cash this ticket in.
I like it, Donnie. I mean, listen, again, most people don't even realize the Nats are over 500. I mean, they're actually playing some good baseball, and more importantly, Donnie, they're crushing the ball. They're hitting very, very well here. I like the over in the game as well, and I absolutely like them to get at least 5 or more runs.
Pile it up and get started here. And as we said, starting your month in style, starting your Monday off here in a work week. We want to go 2-0 tonight, and tomorrow we'll talk NHL. We'll also talk again with the NBA, and is A.J. Brown traded? But before we get there, PME on TEL. That's what's coming up next.
End of the day, LeBron's going to have to put their team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Let me understand this, Joe. Are we going to have any broadcast games on TV anymore? It's all streaming?
You got to pay to watch here, folks. That's just the way it's going to be, one way or the other. And I'm sure this will satisfy, the FCC looking into the coercion that's going on here with the NBA NFL broadcast rights. Yeah, this is all par for the course, I think.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All these idiots out there sounding off on Tiger right now. See, it's so easy to go after a guy that's hurt. He's hurt. Whether you call it whatever you want. He's got a little bit of an issue he's going to fix. Okay? They're attacking. Attack. Why don't you all shut up and let him go do his thing? He had to leave the country to do it because of privacy? That's nauseating to me.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
Now, I see him 15th, 16th, somewhere in that ballpark, and I think that makes sense, Donnie. I don't see him in the top 10. I really don't. I mean, when you look at, let's say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you start going into that, teams like the Cowboys or the Vikings or the Chiefs, and, could they take a flyer?
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.